Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am excited to have with me Scherrie Prince. And let me tell you about Scherrie. She is an attorney and asset protection coach who teaches entrepreneurs how to merge their business plan with estate plan to create a moat around their assets. I love that. For over a decade, she has taught, led, and counseled entrepreneurs at every phase of their business. Scherrie has she has this keen ability to deliver uncommonly original and useful tools in a dynamic and engaging way. She brings to our audiences experiences and asset protection, estate planning, and business planning that, we don't know and we don't understand, and we need Scherrie to tell us all about. So today we are going to talk about entrepreneurship and estate planning, creating a lasting legacy. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Scherrie Prince. Scherrie, so excited. We worry about getting our businesses going and day-to-day stuff, and we tend to not. We may think about it, but we put off the things that will help us. And, I'm no different than anyone else in that regard. But we have you today to help us. So I'm looking forward to this.
Well, look, first, thank you for having me on the podcast. And hopefully I will not nerd out too much because I really get excited when we talk about these types of things. Estate planning, wills, trust, beneficiary designations. Those are the kind of things that get my blood going. So I am ready.
Awesome. And you can nerd out all you want. That's fine by me. So we always start with a really simple question. And that is, just tell everybody, where do you call home? Where do you live?
I am hailing from the beautiful metropolis of Brandon, Mississippi, and it's right outside of Jackson, which is the capital city. We're having some uncommonly good weather here. So I tell folks, if you're ever going through Mississippi, take some time, breathe the air, check out some of our restaurants and tourist attractions. A really beautiful place to be.
Absolutely. All right. So why don't you share a little bit about your personal stories? I always ask about the journey that you take that has taken you to where you are today. And oftentimes, there are lots of turns and twists in the roads that got there. So let's share a little bit about, maybe some highlights of the importance of asset protection and estate planning that really has now become your passion to share with the audience.
Yeah, and twists and turns, that's kind of being kind. I had a really rocky road to kind of get here. When people hear asset protection, it sounds kind of fancy, but what it really is, it's family protection, business protection. And my life started out in a place of scarcity and lack. My mom passed away when I was 16. And just prior to then, she had really been sick most of, my life as a child growing up. So imagine, being 33 years old and being put in a nursing home. So she was in a nursing home for 3 years prior to passing away at the age of 36. Well, that was my first encounter with not someone who does not have an estate plan, because now you have my brother and I There's no life insurance, no
Oh,
guardian
wow.
designation.
Mm,
And so, at the time, I couldn't articulate that, hey, there's nothing for us, but we were blessed that we had family.
mm,
Fast forward, I lived with different relatives for a while. My mom's parents, they passed away. Now, they did leave a legacy. And, that was my second encounter with what not having an estate plan will do. Mom did not have a will or trust. My grandparents didn't have a will or trust. And
mm.
so, what happens when you mix money, family, and greed? It's
Oh,
not always a great
anger.
combination.
No, it is not.
Yes. So, really had to navigate that. And it really encouraged me to go to law school. Didn't go immediately. I was, I think, 30 when I entered law school. So it was after the ordeal with my family and just really haggling over my grandparents' estate. Because what a lot of people don't understand is that if you do not have a will or trust, the state that you live in, it has a plan for your assets. So there's no
Mhm.
need to haggle about it. You may not understand it, but there's a formula for what you get in each state if, the person who passed away did not have a will or trust. So I went through that with my family. And then I had several failed businesses in my early 20s that really taught me the importance of the proper planning and the work that need to go in place for the foundation of a great startup. And so that's kind of how I went to law school and why we're here today. So I'm just, sharing all of those things, those hard knocks, those bought lessons with people on just how to build a better business, how to protect that business, and also protect your family.
Yeah, it's so important. And I can't tell you how many times, certain relatives that I had that didn't have that. And as you said, the state just takes it all, and it's so depressing, you know.
Well, and not so much the state taking it, but like, if you have heirs, depending on your degree of kinship, there's a percentage that you're entitled to. So there's really no need to, not include your sister because, yes,
Hmm.
if there are two of you, in most states, you're going to split, mom or dad's estate 50-50. So there are
Hmm.
some people that may feel like, well, I deserve more because I was there for mom or dad. That's not always the case. So a
Yeah,
lot of what I do is just the very basic level education on the estate side. And the business itself is an asset that needs to be protected within the estate. So it's so important that you don't, do those things in silos.
yeah, yeah. So how do you tailor, the strategies to meet the unique needs and circumstances of you and your business and your personal life and all those things?
Yeah, it all starts with a conversation because
Mhm.
I don't believe that an estate plan is a cookie cutter thing.
Yeah.
You have some people that prefer to have a will, which I absolutely, do not I don't like that at all because that's a public document that can be a public record. And if you are someone of means, you may not want all of your assets spread across the public record. So there are other options that you have. But when I talk to people initially, I just really want to know about your goals. Is your goal legacy building? Is it anonymity? Is it, you want to limit your liability as it relates to your business? Do you have children or family members with special needs? And so we just really talk about what is important to you. And I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, but these things and the concepts work even if you do not have a business. So we just start with that very basic premise of the estate, and then we build into the conversation about where your business is and the type of protections your business needs.
Yeah. So what kind of advice uh, do you give to entrepreneurs who really may not understand how critical this is? They may think, well, my business is just starting. I don't really have that much. Or as you said, maybe they have a lot and they think, well, I don't want everybody to know what I have, family included, maybe. I don't know. And one other thing is you mentioned you had several failed businesses. So touch on too, how do you protect your family from the consequences of maybe having a business that's not doing so well whenever you pass?
Oh, yeah, Vicki, these are great questions. And I'm going to start with my very first failed business by far. And the story is kind of funny now. It was not funny then, but now I've learned to love it. I was 21 and I was in a leadership program. And there was just so many of us. We're doing our thing in our own, particular sectors. And there was this guy, and we were like, hey, we have a lot of shared interests. Let's start a business. Great business. The business was profitable. Well, I showed up at the office one day and his wife was there and she was like, well, I'm your business partner now. I don't know what happened. I guess they had a conversation. She wanted to be a part of the business, but I did not want to go into business with his wife because I don't know her. She did not have the skills or even the personality that I thought would move the business further. And that's not what I bargained for. I didn't contract for that. And so the business basically broke up because, there was not what's called a spousal consent in place that
Oh,
really outlined her interest in the business, if any. And so that is one of the main things that I do now for clients. We talk about what happens in the event that you pass away. There's a dissolution of the business, there's a merger. And I recommend that spouses waive certain rights and give certain consents so that you're not stuck in this place that you're
hmm,
arguing with family members.
yeah.
Um, and so, I said that was a business failure, but it really was because the business split for lack of planning. So that is one of
Mm,
my favorite failed businesses. And you learn these things as you go through
yeah.
them.
And you wouldn't even think about that,
No,
truly.
I mean,
It's
literally, you would not think about it. But
no.
some of the other objections that you mentioned, I don't have enough money, I have too much, I don't want people to know. I would say just get started and then use the people that you already have. If you are someone who's in business, you have a money team, whether you know you do or not. And when I say a money team, these are not people that you have to go spend a lot of, resources to acquire. If you're in business, you have a banker. You have somewhere that you deposit the money that comes into your business. Your banker is part of your money team. You should be paying insurance premiums either for general liability, auto coverage, maybe an umbrella policy. So your insurance agent, part of your money team. You may or may not have a financial advisor, and you should have an attorney. Even if that attorney is not on retainer, you should have someone that you can go to for legal advice, even on a fee basis, per time that you contact them. So
Mhm.
those people are all part of your money team. That is the very first thing you do is on a piece of paper, you look at who your team is and you intentionally have them communicate about your business. I would say no less than once a year, but preferably 4 times a year, like once per quarter.
Quarter.
With
Mhm.
these people, they don't have to be in person, but they could be on Zoom. But you put them all on the same page about what you're doing in your business and how they can work together instead of in silos to help you grow your business and protect your business.
Excellent advice. So whenever we talked about meeting quarterly, but I think it's kind of answers the next question if you could spend a little bit more time. So our businesses hopefully are evolving, and we start out at one place and then we journey and grow, and hopefully our bankroll does as well. But having those meetings quarterly, I think, are important really to keep on evaluating and reevaluating your situation, what the assets you have, and maybe even making changes in that estate plan. Would you agree? And talk a little more on that.
Definitely. One thing that I start to do in my business is that, once you meet with me, we treat it like a wellness visit, with your doctor. You go for your annual checkup, and then I schedule an appointment when you're out. Now, as things change, you may have a grandchild that's born. You may have someone that passes away. There may be a divorce. These are all things personally that change with your estate plan. And I'd love to tell people to kind of think like Stephen Covey. Begin with the end in mind. When you are looking at your business, The end of that business may be a bankruptcy, it could be a merger, it could be a reorganization, or it could be the sale of the business. There are several things that change the shape and the character of your
Mhm.
company. So, how are you prepared to address those things? And you just always have to have an exit plan. Also, Vicki, retirement. How many entrepreneurs have left corporate America and they've taken their entire retirement to build their business?
Mhm.
Okay, so if you've taken, I'm just going to use $100,000 from your retirement and put it into your company, you want to leave or retire from that business or exit that business
With
with
that
the present day,
100,000.
well, no, the present day value. So if that's 10
Mhm.
years later,
Mhm.
what is $100,000 worth 10
Yeah.
years later? So what is your plan to get at least minimally your money out? And hopefully, if you made it 10 years, you should have a substantial profit. So those are the types of things that you work on with your money team, you evaluate, and hopefully you have support staff in your business to help you reach your vision.
Awesome. Good advice. And so what would be some other proactive measures that you can take to safeguard your assets, um, and your legacy?
This is not going to be very popular, but I'm going to say it anyway because I love a good, strong contract. And one contract that people don't like to talk about is a prenup or a postnup because we don't like to think about entering into a marriage and that marriage not working. We just don't want to talk about it. And especially if you start out and both of you are not of substantial needs, you both may start out and you may not have a lot of assets together. But if you are building a life, at some point you may buy a house, you're going to have vehicles, you may have other things, you have investments. So I tell folks all the time, you want to go ahead and get a prenup at least 6 months prior to the actual wedding. And what that does, it takes the pressure off. And that's the time when you're the most in love, you're the most considerate, you're the most generous. So the terms should be the most fair, in my opinion. But these are just things that you have in place. And it's like insurance. If you
Mhm.
don't need it, you don't need it. But if you do, you have it.
Mhm.
And that is so important, even down to a recommendation for a choice of guardian or, custody terms in the event that you have children. Having those things outlined ahead of time, it really just kind of takes the onus off of having to decide that when you're in a place that is not so good between you.
Mhm.
So a prenup or postnup, that is the biggest advice that I give people.
Awesome. So, what are some mistakes that we make or oversights that are going to negatively impact our asset protection?
One of the biggest ones is kind of for the people that take the steps to get started with an estate plan, just not keeping it updated. One horror story, and this is, oh my gosh, it's so terrible. I have one client, he had been married 3 times. And just over the course of time, you get a new partner, and there are certain things you buy with partner number one, partner number two, partner number three, and you break up and you don't take their name off of, life
Oh,
insurance
yeah.
policies. You don't update the titles. So this man has passed away, and there are certain things that his current wife thinks that she's entitled to, and she's not for a couple of reasons. Some things that the beneficiary designations were not properly updated. There are other things that just by state law, because of the amount of
Time and
time he was
marriage.
married, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she's not entitled to. And, it was bad. It was bad,
Mm-hmm.
bad. So updating your beneficiary designations. I know it seems like a very small thing, even down to a safe deposit box that you share with someone. When somebody passes away, you have to get a court order to get into those things. And who wants to pay an attorney just to
Yeah.
get into a little square box that may or may not contain something of importance? So that is like one of the biggest things. The next thing that I think about, and this is so common, blended families. So, what happens when you both bring children into a marriage and then you may have children together? Well, you may treat the outside kids as your own biological kids. But if you don't have a plan in place for them, once you pass away, you might be limited in what you're leaving to them, and they may feel slighted. So there are just certain things that, by operation of law, if there's no will or trust, that will go to your biological children. And that can be very hurtful for a family
Mhm.
dynamic if you've
Yeah.
raised me since birth and I get nothing.
Yeah.
So these are just some things that are glaring to think about, and it seems very small. But if you have an annual or quarterly check in with your team, these are things that your team should be keeping you on top of.
And I think that's really a great thing to mention, because there are so many people that it is blended families. And I am sure that probably 90% of the people have no idea that their children that were brought into the marriage that aren't naturally to the two of them are not going to get equally distributed.
Yeah,
So,
and there's one lady who came to see me, and she is up in her 80s.
mm,
Her mother gave her to her aunt to raise. And so everybody in the family knew that, hey, this is our cousin, but she grew up as their sister.
yeah.
Well, mom passed away, and you had certain family members who do not want to share mom's assets. Mom didn't leave a will, mom did not leave a
Mm,
trust. And so there was a lot of discontention in the family, even
wow.
though it was mom's desire for her to share equally with her biological children.
Wow. Yes.
And yeah, and there was no legal adoption. So, back,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, back 90 years ago, you just kind of say, hey, do you mind raising Susie for me? And
Yeah.
you raised Susie. You didn't go to the courthouse. You just did it because it was family.
Yeah. That's what happened with my dad's mom. She was raised by an aunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything's great until there is,
It's not.
assets. Yeah. It's great until it's not.
All right. Well, it is time for us to end this. We probably could come up with a whole lot more to talk about, but if you're out there and you're listening to this and thinking, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know," then please reach out to Scherrie and find some time to just share what your situation is and see how she can help you protect your assets and your business, and avoid the family angst or discontent that oftentimes happens when you pass. I mean, I think it's, even if you don't think of that, but just think of what your legacy, what you want to leave behind, making sure that it's fulfilled and not lost because of you not doing that work. So I'm going to share my screen with contact information, as I always do. If you have not been taking notes, go quickly. If you're just listening, run quickly and get a paper and pencil so you can take down the website at least. All of this information, though, will be on my YouTube channel, Vicki Noethling. Please subscribe, as well as my findyourleadershipconfidence.com website. The website is scherrieprince.com. That's SCHERRIE Prince.com. On Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, she's Scherrie Speaks. And on YouTube, she's at Scherrie Prince. Again, that's SCHERRIEPRINCE. I'm going to turn it over to Scherrie to talk to you about her call to action and how you can, what you can find on that website to really help you get started.
Thank you, Vicki. Several times a year, I will host a free workshop. And basically, I take you through how to do, a do-it-yourself asset protection plan. And we basically cover four different things, four different ways that you can get with your money team, documents that you may already have in your possession on how to safeguard those, updates you may need to make, and things that you can implement immediately. It's no longer than an hour. And it is live, and I take questions. So if you go to www.scherrieprince.com, you'll find a link to the newest, for the newest date for that workshop. Like I said, it's totally free, and hopefully you'll get some value from it.
Sounds awesome. I am going to take advantage of that too. And I hope that you out there in the audience will do so. And Scherrie, how often do you do those?
We're doing them quarterly now. And once you're done, like it's literally no frills at all, but it's very informational and is intended to put you on the right track to reach someone like me in your area that you can communicate with and build those relationships and build a healthy business.
Oh, that was an important point too. Are you able to help be a counselor for anyone, anywhere, or are you limited to your state?
So, as an asset protection coach, I help people all over the world. If you need legal advice, I'm licensed in the state of Mississippi, but as an asset protection coach, I can work with any attorney, insurance agent, or anyone. Think of me kind of like a quarterback for your football team, for your money team.
Awesome.
So, I work with your team, your attorneys, and everyone, your bankers, to help put together your plan and see that it's executed.
Excellent. So, Scherrie, you just gave so many great tips. And as I mentioned earlier, so many things that you talked about, people really, it's not top of mind. It may be totally new and like an aha moment. So I'm so pleased that you were able to share so much great information today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And look, like I said, I geek out on this stuff. It's not the sexiest thing to talk about, but it's very necessary.
It is. It truly is. As always, I remind everyone that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.